Good Abend. Bereit sind für Schnitzel, das schmeckt gut. Translated, good evening. Are you ready for some good schnitzel? Have you ever wanted to learn how to cook something you really loved? Some of you know that my family and I spent 3.5 years in Germany. While there, we really fell in love with schnitzel, so I learned how to make it. Tonight, I'm going to teach you how to make schnitzel by preparing it for you. In this demonstration, I will show you the supplies and ingredients needed to make schnitzel, show you the techniques I use for preparing and cooking, and then I will cook a sample for you. The ingredients I use are pork loin, flour, salt and pepper, egg, milk, breadcrumbs, the Italian blend, paprika, and a high temperature oil. The supplies that are needed is a deep fryer or frying pan, 3 containers with sides, a tenderizing hammer, tongs, knife, a cutting board, plate, or platter. Now that we have our supplies and ingredients, let's get cooking. The first thing I would do is take a pork loin and we cut it into 1/2-inch fillets. I already did that prior to doing that. So then what I would do is I would take my pork loin and we just get to smack it. You'll want to smack it down to about 1/8 of an inch. This is a really good way of getting out your stressful aggressions for the day. The next thing we do is we'll put it in flour. This is just a mixture of flour with a generous portion of salt and pepper. You would flour both sides, shake off the excess, and then we'd go to an egg mixture, which, if I was making it for my whole family, I'd take 12 eggs and about 1/4 cup of milk. What you do is you put egg on both sides to make sure that it's coated on both sides. And this will help the next step stick better. What you do then is put breadcrumbs on here. Now I just buy the canned breadcrumbs, the Italian flavor. Put it in on both sides. And then what I do is I add a little extra and really get it to smush down on there so that the coating stays for the next step. And then I would put it on my plate or platter. At this point, what I do is I usually would do all of my pork loin and then I would get it ready to go in the fryer. For time's sake today, I'm just going to do the 2. Now I would usually just take 2 at a time and put them right into the fryer. Gentle so that you don't burn yourself at all. And then I'd set my timer for about 2 minutes. Now you can use a fryer, a deep fryer like I do. I set my temperature at 350, and on this particular fryer, the green light tells me when it's ready and it's at that temperature. If you're going to pan fry it though, what you want to do is you want to get your pan on the oven, on the stove, and get your oil nice and hot. You probably only want about 1/4 of an inch or so of oil in the bottom of your pan so that it comes up about halfway up your meat. And then you'll fry it on both sides for about 2 minutes. When I serve this, I will usually serve it with some egg noodles and I'll make a mushroom gravy. And in that case, we would serve it maybe with a vegetable or something. The Germans will serve it with either spatzel or knödel. So spatzel, what it is, it looks like the same as those little crunchy oriental noodles, but they're not hard, they're soft like a noodle. And knödel is almost like a potato dumpling that you would put into boiling water. Now about halfway through cooking here, you're going to want to pull these up a little bit. And you're going to rearrange them just a little bit so that both sides are getting nice and crunchy, because sometimes when they touch, they don't fry through all the way. Now, if cooked properly and you prepare it properly, your schnitzel should almost be able to be cut with a fork. And then, you know, little ones maybe wouldn't be able to do that so much, but definitely an adult could cut it with a knife. One of the lessons I have learned in making schnitzels is not to use olive oil because olive oil cooks at a very low temperature, and if you put it at that high temperature, it tends to burn. So we don't want to do that. And so now it's done, so we're going to go ahead and pull this out. You want it to drain off just a little bit because it's very hot. And if Michaela, if you could come up and cut these up and give a little sample to each person. Now if you see, that's really fast and easy to make. Now hopefully tonight I've taught you how to make schnitzel. So now that I've showed you all how to do it, I will have copies available of the recipe, and now you guys can go home and make yourself some schnitzel. So the last thing I have to say is Guten Appetit, auf Wiedersehen, which means enjoy the meal and see you soon.